Welcome to the Empowered Global Women in Business podcast. I am Elle Ballard, a bicultural woman, mother, wife, and entrepreneur. In this podcast, I will help you navigate entrepreneurship as women of the world, a multinational, bicultural woman. I will interview female business owners navigating the cross-cultural dynamics of building a business sustainably, ethically, and in community. In these raw and real conversations, I will explore what it's like to build a business authentically and on your own terms. If you are a multinational woman and ready to build a business authentically while maintaining your uniqueness and individuality, welcome to the Empowered Global Women in Business podcast. Hello, my beautiful world. Elle Ballard is here, and today I want to talk to you about mastering work-life dance. I'm a dancer. I love dancing and the way and the joy and the feeling that I get from doing it, right? And that's why that's why it's called mastering work-life dance. This conversation today and this topic today was really inspired by my own personal situation. Recently, I dealing with my daughter's health, and she's good, thank God. But I've realized and caught myself kind of catching myself in between my business life and my personal life emotionally, right? And when we care, when we nurture for our loved ones, for our family, sometimes it's hard to disconnect or move on right away to what I need to be doing here while we are trying to take care of our loved ones, right? It's interesting. It's a journey for sure. But this was something that inspired this conversation today. And I wanted to bring you these 5 tips for that mastering work life, right? For that connection between your work life and your in your personal life. And so the first one is prioritizing tasks and setting realistic goals. Something happened this morning. Facebook and Instagram was down this morning, right? And you probably noticed it and in the morning, or maybe you didn't, but I had a podcast schedule at 8 a.m. with Europe in the morning, and then I had Facebook Live scheduled at 11 a.m. And then we have our event this Saturday, our in-person event this Saturday, that I'm communicating with a lot of people about the event through Facebook, right? Through Instagram, through social media channels. And so when that happened, there was a moment there that I thought, was my account compromised? And I thought, if it doesn't get fixed, I will do it tomorrow, or I will do it like, it's all these thoughts, right? Like, what do you do? And how often this outside situation can get us out of our flow, right? Whatever that is, whether it's a family member, whether it's something like a social media, right? Issue. And now it's all good, it's all resolved, right? But what do we do at that very, very moment? So prioritizing what's important outside of all this scheduled conversations, outside of all this, Facebook Lives and videos and even an event, as important as it is, what is behind all of that, right? What is the priority here? So going back to that is important to stay clear and to kind of look at that big picture. So prioritizing tasks and setting realistic goals. Number 2, importance of not to-do list. I talked about this in my previous podcasts, how important it is not to have a not to-do list. We have this endless to-do lists, right? To do this, I have to do this, I have to do that. Does everything in that list needs to be done, needs to be accomplished? There are some things that need to be probably removed from that list, right? In order for other things to get our attention. And so here is where life needs assessment is useful. And we do that in our Free, Fulfilled, and Fabulous cohort that's starting in May. Really understand what's important to you personally, individually, to your human nature, to you as a human being, right? Importance of not to-do list and life needs assessment. Number 3, add breaks and move your body through exercise, right? So I mentioned I love dancing. I just love the way it helps me feel. There is a reason. There is a whole dance therapy, right? I'm not going to go into it, but there is a reason, something happens with reason, mind-body connection, but there are different kind of modalities that can be used here. But what I'm talking about in this particular case is really just adding any exercise to your breaks, right? So if you do increment intervals of focused work, I do 90 minutes of focused work where I time myself and I just work on one task. So if you do those, whether it's 90 minutes or 60 or 30 minutes, right, adding breaks right after or between is very useful. And so when you move your body, you completely disconnect from what you are doing, you refresh, and then you come back to it. So very important. Number 4, self-acceptance, self-truth, self-honesty. We talked about it in our podcast interview earlier this morning. It's beautiful conversation, how important it is to be honest with yourself, right? What I can do, what I cannot do, where am I being unfair to myself, where I should add more or take out. And this is actually the reason why, big reason behind Free, Fulfilled, and Fabulous, where we talk about inner freedom, where we touch on why we do things like self-sabotage, why we women self-sabotage ourselves so much, no matter how much success we have behind our shoulders, right? Why is that happen? Why does that happen? And so we really go deep on that topic, and that's why I call it freedom, because but when I say freedom, I really mean inner freedom and then outside freedom. Inner freedom first and then outer freedom second, right? Because unless we are feeling free internally in ourselves first, we cannot bring that in the outer world, right? And so again, back to Free, Fulfilled, and Fabulous. Our cohort starts in May. If you're interested, there is a calendar link that we can schedule conversation to discuss if there is a fit. Okay, so number 1, prioritizing tasks. These are the 5 tips for mastering work-life balance. Number 1, prioritizing tasks and set realistic goals. Number 2, importance of not to-do list. Number 3, add breaks and move your body. Number 4, self-acceptance, self-truth. And then number 5 is emotional IQ, emotional health, which is really closely connected to that self-honest, self-assessment kind of, right? But emotional suffering must be addressed, right? And there are a lot of tools today that exist to do that, because I mean, we need that for our health, for our future, for our longevity, right? Which is a field for my passion that I also love studying. And it's important to maintain that. So whatever you need to do, build that in your daily regime, in your daily routine, to take time to do that, right? Keep yourself emotionally healthy. And I feel like women especially can get emotional, right? Just because the way we are, we have to recognize that we are empowered global women in business podcast, right? And so I hope this brought you some important reminders. And just to summarize those 5 tips that I gave you today, the number 1 was prioritizing tasks and set realistic goals. Number 2, importance of not to-do list. Number 3, adding breaks and moving your body. Number 4, self-acceptance, self-truth. And number 5, emotional health. And with that, I want to remind you again that we are opening Free, Fulfilled, and Fabulous cohort, which will be absolutely amazing. It has so many beautiful things built in it. We're starting with a custom built game. It's a board game that was custom built, that has Tesla manifestation built in the game. There's so important things. And we start that cohort with that game so that we truly work on something that needs to be worked on, right? And then we go through freedom, fulfillment, and fabulous. And along all of those modules, we incorporate dance, we incorporate mind body, we incorporate this mind body soul connection. It's not about the technique of dancing, it's really about being, it's about alignment. So if you have if this sparked any interest, you can book a no obligation call with me on my calendar to discuss this program that is starting in May. And with that, I'm sending you lots of love, my world. You matter. I love you all, and have an amazing, beautiful week.